All right. Now, clean slate. I'm going to go live again. And let me get my notes pulled up here because this is perfect, man. This is undeniable proof. That's what I titled the new video on Facebook. It's called Undeniable Proof. And if you want to argue after this, then you're in trouble. We're October the 27th, 2024. At this place where we are, once again, more people should know what that dash means. But this right here, I prepared for it. And I'm going to read also some of the notes and then tie it all in. So what you need to do with this video is there's a way to pause it. Obviously, when I put it on Rumble, I'll put it on all of my pages. All right. Especially on Instagram here, you got to know my link tree where you can find my Rumble page because there's a lot of fake pages out there. So my link tree is LINKTR period. That's where the period goes, the dot. TR period EE /1776 nation. No spaces, no underscores, nothing. Just 1776 nation /. All right. You can find my Rumble. What you need to do is share this video. This is the one that can show your friends and your family who are still either right on the line with you, on the fence with you, or whatever they are, or even if they're completely asleep. Because I'm going to do this in a chronological order, real quick as possible. But this is the one that can bring the house down. Brings the curtains to a close, or however you want to look at the end of a show. However you look at the end of a show, if it brings the curtains to an open, curtains to a close, brings the house down. This is the one that does it. There's just a few things that are absolute nuggets that you cannot deny this dash with. And once again, there's a huge difference in a conspiracy theory and laws and orders. And if you're someone that claims that laws and orders are conspiracy theories, then you are the swamp. You're the swamp. All right, and if one of your friends or family does that to you, then you call them, you charge them and say, well, you're the swamp. And if they don't like it, then say, well, if you don't like it, then you might want to know what's going on by the man you claim to support, because his role as a president is the chief executive officer of the executive branch. He is to enforce the laws. So 68% of America, as everybody knows my quote, on average, 68% cannot name the three branches of government. Woo! And they want to talk about what's going on, period, and have an opinion, but they can't even say legislative, executive, judicial. They cannot even say the three words, much less tell me which one writes and passes the laws, who enforces the laws, and who interprets the laws. So, you can't support the man without supporting the dash. Because now he gives you a visual, this is visual validation for those of us that know what's going on. And those of you that don't know what's going on, he gives you a visual that there is something going on that you've been witnessing for 8 years now. Going on 8, might as well say 8. Since November the 8th. 2016, you've been witnessing this, and you did not realize that you were looking at something very biblical, monumental, and historical. All right? So, most Americans who either, well, it doesn't matter when you woke up and when you became a Donald Trump supporter, no matter what your colorful history was, whether you're a Democrat all your life, liberal, it doesn't matter. You're already here, right? So here's the thing. Here's what separates the wheat from the chaff. Is if you're already a President Trump supporter, you're already halfway home. But then to validate the man and what he did, you should want to know the dash that he is supporting on his ball cap that came out April 2023. That would be President Donald Trump already claiming number 47 a year and 7 months before the date that actually what people think determines that, even though it's not the only date. It could go, well, first off, even if a winner is declared on the actual date of voting, the actual certification is January the 6th. So the wheat from the chaff right now are where these people out there are claiming to be patriots and claiming to be President Trump supporters, but they're saying that things like me, a retired United States veteran, showing what he did, which validates what he did, and more than validates him, it puts this man, which I believe more than anything, if you've ever been to Mount Rushmore, I just got back from there, let's see, 2 weeks ago. Man, there's a perfect knob right on the end of it that's going to fit his head perfectly. All right? Because this is what that does. This shows you why he was called by God to look like Cyrus the Great in a moment where everybody thought that we were all doomed and it was out of the control and it's too big, we can't get control. You are witnessing that happen. And that's all I talk about. And everything I talk about, it's all public laws and orders. It's all public. So there's no such thing as a conspiracy theory when it's laws and orders. If you're saying that, you're delusional. And you are way out of touch and you're missing the whole point of operation. I'll let you and your family decide if you're incognizant. Well, you're incognizant if you're saying that. But I'll let them decide if you're dumb, stupid, or lazy. All right? I will refrain from saying that. Because you might just be someone who don't know yet, and you've never heard it yet. Or you could be someone that just don't know that you don't know. All right? Because you can still be a good person and love President Trump. Yes. You can still be a good person and vote for President Trump. Yes. But why wouldn't you want to know what the dash is all about? Why not? Right? Because it don't hurt anybody. Everything I talk about doesn't hurt you. I show how they've drained the swamp from the centralizations of the bank, the decentralization. I show all aspects by laws and orders what this law did and what this law did and what this national emergency did and that national. Everything invoked by this man. So, I'm 41, and my whole life I've heard people say, my life, and if I'm 41, I'm sure you've heard it. I've heard people say, well, that's Congress's job. That's what they get paid to do. Well, that's out of our control. It'll just work itself out. Well, if you thought that this was just another 4 or 8 years, how's that working for you? Did it just work itself out? Because if you think Joe Biden's real, you're already in trouble. If you think he's actually president, you're also in trouble because he's not by laws and orders. All right? And there's certain unique laws and orders in place that make a president a wartime president, and then it separates, it's a certain separation of powers. It's really cool. It's nothing scary. All right? Especially when you can see the visuals that who's in control and the orders in place, the laws and orders in place, and you can see visuals on a daily basis being carried out all around you if you know the laws and orders. And when you see those visuals, they validate and back up what's in place, and the visuals plus what's in place show that you're watching a World War II history repeat. So how do you drain the swamp? You got to do it lawfully. So when people say, why would it look this way? I hear this all the time. Still. Well, why would it look this way? If President Trump was in charge, Jared Johnson, why would it look this way? Why would he let our country go to hell? Why would he let the economy go to hell? Why? Because where were you before President Trump? Now, you may be that one individual who did know our foundation, who did know our Declaration of Independence and why it was declared. You may have been the one who did know about the Articles of Confederation before the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all. You may be that one, but there's a lot around you who are not that one, who did not have a clue what's going on, don't care to know what's going on, don't care and trusted every single person that kept getting reelected, even though a lot of them were cheating already, but whatever. Both sides, whether they be reelected or not, being just dumb and incompetent, or if they were cheating to get in, you didn't know either one of those processes, and most of those people were voting those people back in. So there's that. And then the people in hired spots President Trump just said this the other day. He said, why do they keep hiring the same people over and over and over and over again? They have track records all over their records of failure, fraud, lying, and they just kept hiring the same people. So where were you? And only you that's listening knows if that's you or not. Because a lot of the stuff that's being said about this being conspiracy and all that is because you have no clue what's going on by laws and orders, and you don't know laws and orders, and you don't know how the three branches even work. You can't even name them in the first place. Then you don't even know how the laws work and how they're enforced and what it looks. So just calm down. Calm your tits, as the saying is. Calm it down. And go, look, if you don't know that, that's okay. But don't go replicate what the swamp looks like. Just calm down. There's people who know what's going on. And, you don't have to listen to my music to support what I'm saying. You don't have to go be my bosom buddy to hear what I'm saying. None of that. So when people say, well, what put you here and who made you the king and who made you the golden pony? I guess God did, because I went globally viral on a Facebook video, and then we and the people that follow me, we built a team together, because I didn't have a platform before any of this. I didn't have a single podcast or anything. Nothing. So 1776 Nation and Rattle Trap 1776, we built something together. And the people who follow me are just as patriot and just as servants as anybody else is doing right now, even on my level. They're servants too. We're all servants to recognizing that, hey, there is a massive plan put into place. It's there. And it's visual for you daily. No, I don't know all the answers. My buddies don't know all the answers, but when we come together, we all have enough stuff that we can intertwine just like that. And we can put enough of the puzzle together for you based on our experience and then our knowledge of reading and putting things together that God gave us the ability to do. But we don't make predictions. We don't give dates. I don't. I never give dates. I don't make predictions. I don't give dates. I don't say, well, da-da-da-da-da. No. I take it day by day, and I take what they have given. It's real simple. Now, you got to make it simple in your life. And it's like I tell people, until you know the foundation of our nation, until you know the foundation of what's in place, until you know that, you don't need to be listening to anybody else. You don't. You don't need to be listening to podcasters. You don't. Because of this. If they don't show you what's in place by Donald John Trump, I don't like calling him that because he is much deserving of wartime president, wartime commander Donald John Trump. But if you don't know and they ain't talking about that, you're going to be confused. And you don't have to be confused. You don't have to be confused. You don't have to be frustrated. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be bitter. You don't have to be sad. You don't have to be scared. You don't have to be terrified. Anything. You don't have to be anything remotely close to any negative kind of word. That's not how the military works. Well, first off, that's not how God works. And second, that's not how the military works. The military don't sit back and devise a plan to scare the crap out of you. Now, you can see something that looks scary, but the military don't sit back and say, we're going to scare the crap out of these people. No, the military devises strategic plans with B, C, D, E, yada, yada, flanks if you have to, whatever you got to do. But especially special operations, they run an operation, and the operation may be to flip public opinion, but it ain't to scare you. See, that's where you got to listen to language, and you got to know the language. So my thing is, if you absolutely don't know anything about laws and orders and special operations, clandestine operations, unconventional warfare, guerrilla warfare, irregular warfare, subterranean warfare, asymmetrical warfare, if you don't know anything about any of these things, then that's fine. But don't go and comment that it's a conspiracy theory or it's hogwash when you don't know. You don't know that. Just relax and chill. And then do what? go, okay, this guy is talking about President Trump. He is the source. He is the face. He's the whole topic. And then he's showing this dash on the side of his ball cap, claimed April 2023. Then you study and you do your research, because President Trump and the military are the two most important things under God right now. Those are the two most important things. And they both can join anyways, but so how do you drain the swamp? All these people, most of these patriots out there, drain that swamp. Drain that swamp. That was one of the biggest chants. One of the biggest chants that people would all at these rallies. There ain't nobody doing any of that anymore. Period. So where did all that go? Well, let me show you. You're watching the swamp being drained, and you watched it be drained. But how do you do it? It had to be done lawfully. Laws and orders. What does President Trump say all of the time? We are a nation of laws and orders. Laws and orders. Now, all laws on paper, as prescribed by the law, have always been perfect. And no, a lot of you listening, but especially your friends and family who haven't heard me before, maybe have heard me, but still registering everything. For many years before 2016, the laws and orders on paper were there, but they weren't carried out the way they were supposed to. They were not enforced. And a lot of these people in the swamp, they created problems they already had solutions to. So that's how they deceived you. It looked like some things were being carried out, but they're the ones who set it up. Kind of like 9/11. All right, you're going to find that out in history. You're going to find it out. All right? But they created a problem they already had a solution to. So that's kind of like me going out and getting a group of people on Instagram here, getting them at an event, and then I start a fire and go, yeah, fire, like, hey, look over there. Light a match, throw it down, and go, oh my gosh, fire, fire, fire. Y'all back over here, there's a fire, right? And all the people going, oh my gosh, there's a fire on the stage, there's a fire, oh my God, get, and panic them. But then I have a fire extinguisher under the podium that I take out. Don't worry, guys, I got it. And then look like a hero. And then they do what? Oh man, you knew exactly what to do. He didn't panic in that situation. He grabbed that extinguisher. He put that fire. That's what America's looked like from 2016 all the way back. It looked a lot like the parks, but Congress and the swamp, they created their own checks and balances. They created their own system within it. And it looked like they were against each other, and they looked like they were talking. Go watch Matlock. I love Matlock reruns. I love Andy Griffith shows, first off. But I love Andy Griffith. Watch Matlock. Go watch Matlock. When he was playing the show on Matlock, he could not stand when the attorneys had to go in the back. See, a lot of you, they show it to you. Attorneys going, here's a couple going through a bad divorce, or here's someone on trial for murder, and here's someone being defended, and the person that he was defending really didn't commit the murder, right? We have this in real life. Well, then lawyers do what? Trial lawyers will go in the back with the judge, and they'll do what? They'll talk to each other. And they'll try to cut a deal. Well, if you get your person to do this, I'll get a plea bargain, a plea deal. A guilty plea is just as guilty. If you take a plea deal, you're saying I'm guilty, right? So it's the same retrospect. It's the same thing. It's the same everything. So they go back here, and Matlock will do what? No, my person is innocent. I'm not taking that deal. Da, 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 da. And sometimes the judge in the back would have to say, all right, calm down, or whatever, like that. My guy's innocent. No, I'm not taking a deal. I'll see you in court. That's a real lawyer. All right? That's someone you can tell the motives, even though it was a TV show. There are some out there that are like that. They're like, nope, my client's innocent. We're not taking no deal. I will prove it in court. But then there's some of that's theater. And it's the same thing with Congress. They have always done what? They have got on TV and argued, and the Republicans did this, and the Democrats did this, and the Republicans did this, and our foundation was never supposed to be career politicians. They weren't supposed to be career. Our foundation were Continental Congress. They were doctors, lawyers, farmers, blacksmiths, etc. They were never to be career politicians. But then what happened? People, Americans, stopped learning and knowing and educating on what mattered. And what did America become? We have become a nation who are educated on materialistic things. That's why we have no young people watching people like me, which is not good at all, that we don't have the 35-year-old and younger bracket to about 18 in college. That's dangerous, very dangerous, because of what we're seeking to maintain and sustain through this operation. So, how is that? And then you have, once again, go back to the foundation. Our founders were all educated on this. Then, all throughout from 2016, when we lost it in 1871, Americans stopped caring, and then it became deeper and deeper and deeper on materialistic things, like a college degree, for example. I have 2 of them, but they don't mean anything in another manner, because it's a man-made system. It's all man-made. It's all based on a curriculum set out by a certain group of people and thinking the way they think and passing their test. And then you get this piece of paper and you get to go out in the world into a what? A man-made system that says, oh, you just have an associate's degree. Well, you're not here yet. Then a bachelor's degree. Well, you're not a master's, so you're here. And then a master's degree. Oh, well, you don't have all the experience, so you're still going to fall back down here with the bachelor's because you still don't have the experience because you went straight to your master's program right behind your bachelor's. That's how that works. Then PhDs, oh, we don't have a slot for you. Well, we're full right now. We only need 1 PhD. It's a conundrum that they created and they established. In the 1980s, 85% of America were farmers. So we're polar opposite now. So you wonder why there's a tax for a tax for a tax, and a law for a law for a law, and this for that, and it's because these incompetent people didn't know how to create jobs with the society of which they created. That's where they actually damn themselves. They actually exposed their own system. Because they have a tax and 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 a tax. But we're the ones paying the taxes. We're all the ones, the money's in a cycle, right? That's why you got to know how money works. We're in a cycle, a circulation. And then you get people who will sit on their money and they won't spend their money. So then what's that mean? Other people's money get pressured to spend their money. Well, what if they don't want to spend their money? See how this stuff works? See how the dirty swamp, they actually told on themselves. So when you understand laws and orders, and then you understand the monetary system and how those are supposed to conjoin, it's really simple. These incompetent people built their own establishment. So it's really that simple. You enforce the laws that's on the paper. And that's what everybody's seeing. And that's why you don't see a single liberal saying to President Trump, you can't do that. You have not seen. Now, he was with a hooker 47 years ago, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And they've tried everything like people have done with me. Lies and misinformation. Lies and misinformation. They can't take laws and orders and use laws and orders to debunk laws and orders, because I'm using the only laws and orders on paper that are being enforced. So see, the laws and orders that are being enforced, these trolls and haters and liars and thieves and all that, the same people that come after President Trump, they can't say you can't do that, because all he's doing is enforcing the laws and orders. And then he used wartime laws and orders, which are completely different than a constitutional president that makes him a wartime president. So none of these lawyers, attorneys, judges, congressmen and women, because a lot of them are lawyers, so that's why I use those titles, they can't say, you can't do that, because he took the laws and the orders on paper and enforced them. 95% of the laws and orders that he's using are already in place. He didn't have to issue too many of executive orders. He issued quite a few, considering with national emergencies, 11 national emergencies and 11 executive orders, but they couldn't say you can't do that. So the few times they tried to damn him, meaning block him, the few times they tried to block him with a certain kind of law, he wrote an executive order and declared a national emergency. And that's why you got to know a little bit of your history, and I'm about to show you. You got to know your military foundation first. Military came first in this nation. Our founders started a war first. They started a war for taxation without representation and freedom of religion. They fled the motherland, as we call it, came here, and they said, why do we flee over here if the king's going to rule us across the pond here? So they started a war, established the Army first, June 14th, 1775. The first war articles came June 30th, 1775, which is military law, long before the Declaration of Independence. The United States Naval, the Navy, all right, Naval Service, Continental Navy, October the 13th, 1775. Then you had the Marine Corps, November the 10th, 1775. The first flag, the Grand Union, December the 3rd, 1775. All those are long before July the 4th, 1776. So our military and military laws came long before July the 4th, 1776. But all these people out there, a lot of them will quote, they'll say the word Constitution, but they can't quote from it. That's where you get them. You go, okay, well, tell me what the Constitution says. And they can't. So a lot of these liberals, we're trying to protect democracy in the Constitution. Those are a contradiction. Article 4, Section 4 says we're a Republican form of government. We're not a democracy. So that's where they're a contradiction. If you don't know the Constitution, you can't call out the hypocrites. All right? So, the Constitution. The Constitution is a framework to keep Congress in check. The only thing that it applies or is applicable to me and you is we, the people, are the government. The representatives represent us. So all 535 members of Congress represent us. They are to represent us and what we want in place, what we want passed, what we want in law, what we want in order. Not what they did, but guess what happened? Too many Americans became caught up in drama and propaganda and things that don't matter. And, oh, I got a degree from here and da-da-da-da-da, and yeah, and then that became, oh, let's name all the Kardashians. I can't even name the Kardashians. So all I know is the word Kardashian, their last name. I can't even name them. But there are people on the street you can walk up to and say, name the Kardashians. They can name them and go, name the 3 branches of government. They can't name them. That's our problem. We became self-absorbed, a self-absorbed nation on materialistic things that don't matter at the end of the day. It all has a shelf life, a short shelf life that dissipates quicker than the cat can lick its butt. All right? So, there's guys like me who look like a nerd or look like a this or look like a that because I've been knowing this, have been knowing this, have been saying this, have said this on dates years ago, and everything upset her. And what do females do on a date? Can we talk about something that's not as boring? I'm like, the Constitution shouldn't be boring. And the Declaration of Independence. So you'll hear all these liberals out there talking about the Constitution, but they can't say anything from it. And here's the thing. Another thing that people have misconstrued. That Marbury versus Madison, 1803, in the United States Supreme Court proved. In 1803, Marbury versus Madison, James Madison, he said, any statute that bears the appearance, so that means in layman terms, looks like, any statute that looks like a law, that doesn't support the Constitution, is null and void. So that means, if it don't support the Constitution, So here's another thing people don't realize. James Madison was the author, the main author of the Bill of Rights. The first 10 amendments, right? It was 12 of them back then, ironically. But your First Amendment, freedom of speech, right? Expression, etc. Well, here's how this works. And people don't want to hear it this way because people want it in their own belief system. They don't want to go back to when it was written and how it was written. But this is how it was written. Your opinion don't mean jack doo-doo if you don't know anything about our military history, our military foundation, military laws, the Articles of Confederation, which became the Constitution. That's how that works. See, a lot of people want their freedom of speech, but they want to cherry pick it, and they want to put in what they want to put in based on their belief system. Versus, hey, here's how the federal was supposed to look like, here's how state was supposed to look like, here's how local. And then you have your tribal. But still, everybody wants a freedom of expression and freedom of speech, but they don't know anything about the very thing of which it came from, where it derived from. So, if you're a true originator, if you're someone who is all about the origin and the origination of something, then if you claim that you don't, oh, well, the founders didn't know that in 2024 there were going to be idiots with guns and blah, 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 and you want to abolish the Second Amendment or somehow amend that, but you want your first, that's a contradiction. That's hypocrisy. Because the same author and the same brain who wrote the first 12, which became 10, adopted 10, even though it was 12 original, but the same author and the same brain and the same mindset wrote these together for a reason. So you can't have one without the other. You can try and you can say what you want to say, but once again, there's people like me, and there's a lot of me's out there that know the origin and knows that most of the people are butchering that and misconstruing that and twisting that, and it only leads you into disarray. When nothing we talk about will alter your lifestyle or anything of that nature. Nothing that we talk about will alter the way you live your life. You can go home, be what you want to be, do everything you want to do as long as you don't hurt or harm anybody or cram it down a child's throat or act like a fool in public with all this stuff. Make your voices known the correct way, but understand why you're in this nation. You're only here because our founders, my family, I trace back. You're only here because of what they fought for. That's why you're sitting right here. And there's enough people living, walking, breathing that know that same foundation that have set this up. And if you don't like it, you have plenty of options to leave. I don't. I have one option. This is it. The United States of America. You have plenty. I don't. So, the dash. The dash is President Trump is a wartime president versus a president. Now, you got to know a little back history really fast. So, in 1941, 1942, this has already been done before, just slightly different, because this is a different kind of war. And President Trump told you all throughout 2020, and what were people doing? The one time everybody was sitting there happy rear ends at home, what were everybody doing? Playing board games, playing card games, watching series after series, watching movies, playing games, playing Xbox, playing Nintendo, whatever you have, playing in the yard, playing this. It's one thing if you have kids, I get it. But at the end of the day, in your spare time, what were you doing in 2020? Why did you not listen to this man? Everything that backs up this dash, he told you in 2020. Everything. They asked him, is he a wartime president? The mainstream media, are you a wartime president? Why would the mainstream media be asking President Trump if he's a wartime president, other than to give you a calm that that's what's going on? Why did he talk about Roosevelt over and over? Why did he talk about Eisenhower over and over? Why? Those are all comms. Because what happened in World War II? Something big. All right, these little thing called government in exile and a puppet state. It's not the first time in history that two presidents have ever been used. See, if you don't know history, you can't talk about history, and you definitely can't see history repeating itself in order to be a part of a new history being written and you to be a part of. See, all this stuff is awesome. This is so awesome to say, hey, They're using a tactic back here, slightly different because it's a different enemy. President Trump told you in 2020 that the enemy is an invisible enemy. You don't know who they are. We do. He told you that. Then later in 2020 on the campaign, he said what? We have it all. We've caught them all. No one could have caught them but me. He told you all along the way. So if you got friends and family still calling you conspiracy theorists and all that, let them show their ignorance. Let them. The dash ain't going away. It ain't going away. And the date and the timestamps of the blueprint of everything, the chronological order, proves everything. And you're going to know it. You're going to be able to walk around your family and go, I knew it the whole time. And you're going to know every one of them that called you crazy. And you go, yep. And then when they try to say that they did, you're going to have timestamp proof, baby. You're going to say, no, look at this comment back here. Look what you said about this young veteran trying to show everybody what's going on via his oath and service beyond service. Look what you said about Derek Johnson. Look what you said about Rattletrap 1776. Look what you said. No, you didn't know. No, you didn't know. And it ain't about being right or wrong. And it ain't about toting around and going acting like you're better and everything. But you'll be able to know that you knew and they didn't. And you'll be able to go, you know what? And you might be someone that deserves a slot in local level, state level, or federal level. And you'll be able to prove it by knowing you knew the whole time and being able to quote it and being able to quote things that matter. Not surface level propaganda bullcrap like 99% of these podcasters are still doing. We have 99%, we have all these independent quote unquote podcasters who are replicating the same thing that CNN and MSNBC and Fox and all of them do. Same thing. They're fake news too. It don't matter the delivery. It matters who the source is. So it don't matter what the screen looks like. The screens don't matter. It's the source and the person bringing the source. Fake news. Who hates fake news? This guy. If you're replicating, if you're saying Joe Biden in present tense, if you're saying anything about Joe Biden in present, Joe Biden did this, Joe Biden did that, Kamala did this, Kamala did that, Kamala said this, Joe said this. If you're saying that and you're a podcaster, you have no clue what's going on right now. You have no clue. And you're only misleading people. You're misleading them. So in World War II, 1941, this is why it's important to know certain things that's going on. 1933, the original inauguration date moved from March the 4th to January the 20th. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was the last president to serve a regular presidency. He was voted in 4 times. He was in his 13th year as president. Voted in by the people. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 1 of the Constitution. I'm going to read it. Specifically says, the executive power shall be vested in a president, listen to that, in a president of the United States of America. He shall hold his office during the term of 4 years, and, together with the vice president, chosen for the same term, be elected as follows. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say how long a president's supposed to serve. None. That's up to us, the people, to decide on that. All right. So, 1941, the War Powers Act, very key. Very, very key power. Very key act. 1941. 1942, it was the second War Powers Act, but it was land and naval uses. Guess what they did back then? All of the military seized all of your international, regional, county, municipal airports. For what? World War II. Guess what's going on right now? Via laws and orders. All your National Guard are out of their states daily. You have foreign aircraft landing on National Guard bases, and foreign aircraft are where? International airports with no reserve components attached, no National Guard. Regional, county, and municipal airports. Why do we have helicopters from other nations on regional airports in the middle of nowhere? It's all there. Then that War Powers Act was amended in 1973. That was Congress trying to do something, and we'll get there. In World War II, they had these things called the puppet states, government in exile. All right. Well, the most popular one is the Second Philippine Republic. There were two presidents. One had control of civil affairs only, and the people and the press thought he was the real president, but he wasn't. The real president was in Washington, D.C., under Roosevelt, who had capitulated his military to our military because of the region where the Philippines is back during that era, what was going on with Japan and the Indo-Pacific. Very key region, very key slot. We already had, so there was two visual presidents, but one of them was just to address the public and keep them going. Just like all these people calling this a conspiracy theory, guess what you are? You're the Philippine people who thought that that president was real while the real president was in D.C. with the military doing bigger operations for the world. And he had what? He had the humility to go, you know what? Right now, this is for a world operation. I will step back right now and I will capitulate right now because the U.S. was a bigger power and they wanted to be a part of the good side of history. That's what took place. Now, Joe Biden ain't real, unlike the second president of the Philippines at that time. He was a real person, but he wasn't a mask or any of that. He wasn't looking like the guy that once was a senator. No. So, slightly different, but it's the same thing. Government in exile. And where you'll find the government in exile is in the Special Operation Unconventional Warfare Pocket Guide that was put out in 2016 by the Special Operations Command, meaning this is our new Special Operations Command publication. It wasn't an individual publication by a general or a colonel or anything. This was a massive publication put out in 2016. And then the next month, well, first off, February 2016, President Trump started talking about on the campaign trail. He said what? We're going to put lots of bad dudes in Guantanamo Bay. February 2016. April 2016, Special Operations Command booklet came out with this Unconventional Warfare Pocket Guide. And in there's a diagram that I talk about all the time that will change your life when you go read that diagram. Everything you've witnessed the last 8 years is on that diagram. May 2016, the Supreme Court, the more liberal Supreme Court, Ginsburg and that crew, not President Trump, what people call President Trump's Supreme Court, which it don't work that way, but for the people who do, the more liberal Supreme Court did what? May 2016, they passed the Military Justice Act of 2016. It got passed in the 2017 National Defense Authorization Act, which was President Trump's defense budget, baby. All right. So what happened? The Supreme Court of the United States of America clarified that military laws and federal laws are separate. It's all written in there. Look at the timing of those. Gitmo. We're going to load it up. Special Operations Command. Boom. And then this. Well, that Special Operations Command booklet, guess what it has in there? Government in exile, shadow governments, guerrilla warfare, Title 50, it talks about Title 50, talks about Title 10. It all ties into everything that is right here. That's been invoked by laws and orders that also invoke the military, that brings in the military for a wartime situation. Which is why it's important to know what took place in 1951. In 1951, Congress put term limits on the president, but not themselves. Why? Now, most of those, obviously all those people are dead. There may be one still hanging on that's older, but most of them are dead. So they can't account for what they did and why they did it. But they violated the Constitution. Now, even if the people, if all of us said, well, you know what, our founders probably should have put term limits on the president. Okay, all right. Well, why didn't they put it on themselves? That's where they went into deeper swamp. And let me show you the quick timeline. 1951. 1950 to 53, Korea War started. Guess what they call the Korean War now? A Korean conflict. These people are trying to rewrite history because they're scared of all of their what? Their fake wars being exposed. Now they're trying to call it a conflict, not a war. Don't think so. 1950 to 53. Vietnam started 55. It didn't start in the 60s like some people think. It started in 1955. 1961, Dwight D. Eisenhower had a farewell speech on January the 17th, 1961. What did he say? He didn't like where the military was going and the medical systems because of a military-industrial complex, because of money. What did the military turn into? Come join for money. Come get paid to be in the military. Come get benefits, college, housing, dental, medical, this. And then it pays for your spouses. That's why we have all these dependents out there that thinks they know what's going on. They have no clue. That's why my friend was getting slaughtered by all her friends. All my friends are military spouses, and they say you're a conspiracy theorist. They don't know anything what's going on. They're a dependent. All right? Because money. People join the military for the wrong motives, the wrong incentives. Now, that don't mean that everybody in the military has a bad heart or bad motives or they're not a good person. But what are their motives? If they don't know the laws and the orders of which they raised their right hand to, that all of us veterans raised to, Title 10, Section 502, if they can't quote Department of Defense, anything, if they can't quote military regulations, their own branch regulations, if they don't know military laws, military orders, military regulations, military customs, military traditions, and how they pair with executive orders, national emergencies, proclamations, and treaties, then they're just as blind as anybody else. And that's why we have what we have right now. That's why it had to be a certain group of people who knew that most of the people had no clue what was going on. So how do you keep from a civil war breaking out or civil unrest? How do you keep from people panicking, whichever way they panic? How do you keep that? You keep the same bullcrap going. It's called a special operation. And when you go read that diagram on page 11 of the Unconventional Warfare Pocket Guide, you'll see every line is to the image of what you've been witnessing the last 8 years, especially if you're awake. So 1961, Eisenhower, 5-star general, rare 5-star general, had that farewell speech. 1963, JFK went around the Federal Reserve straight to the Treasury Department in January. What happened 11 months later? 1968, we left the Gold Standard Act. We went on a Unified Budget Act. Unified budget. So when you hear Kamala, quote unquote, she's not real, but for the people that think she's it, I'll sit in a neutral seat really quick. All right. When you hear Kamala on these quote unquote debates, which has only been the one, obviously, but when she said that Donald Trump is trying to take away your Social Security. Guess what? That already happened to all of you and you didn't realize it. It happened in 1968 with the Unified Budget Act. They took Social Security, they took general highway funds, all this, they put them all, and they put them in a general budget. All right? Put them in a general budget. So then what happened? That'd be like all of us listening, taking our bank accounts and putting them all in one account. Everybody having the same passcode. Well, some people are going to be happy. But there's a lot of people who knows how to balance and budget and knows how to maintain and sustain that ain't going to be happy. So what did Congress do all these years? Certain congressmen and women, they created all these taxes, right? It looked good on paper at first, but then they did what? They started taking from the fund, but they didn't put it back. Then you had the Nixon shock of 71. We left the Gold Standard Act, right? Nixon shock. So what did Congress do? They made the dollar as valuable as they wanted it to be or as invaluable as they wanted it to be. They made it on their system. And then what did they do? They're the ones who had all the insider trader information. Why is Joe Biden, the real Joe Biden, why is he $175,000 a year plus all the expenses and taxes and all the stuff that, a normal person and family does? His wife was a teacher. How is he at $175,000 a year worth $10 million plus? How? I obviously need to see the financial advisors of that. Because when the time you take out your expenses, the time you take out your livelihood, and not just expenses on that, but your livelihood, meaning vacations and other things that you enjoy, a truck or a car or this, how are they worth 10 plus million? And that's a low number. That's just your Forbes and people being conservative. How? So they had all this insider information. Remember why they smeared Martha Stewart? Oh, they hammered Martha Stewart. So see, they put someone up in the front to be a scapegoat, to be the fall guy or the fall gal. They put them up front, but they're the ones doing it. Right? If you look back on history, you'll see people that they smeared on purpose. Martha Stewart did what everybody else would have done in a normal situation. It don't matter that she was famous and all that other stuff. She wasn't a congresswoman. She wasn't anything like that at that moment. She did everything what everybody else. Someone called you and said, "Hey, the stock market's going to block all your stocks are you're going to call your broker and say, "Hey, dump it today." That's what everybody would have done. So it's a special operation, and when you get that diagram in your life, it's going to change your world. Now, I didn't put the diagram in the first book because, one, it was operation still going on, and it's still going from that angle, so I talk about it. You can go look at it. It's public information, but there's also copyrights to a lot of this stuff. So you have to go and say, "Hey, blah, 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 is it cool to do this? Is it cool to do that? Yeah, yada, yada, yada." So make sure of that. All right? So on the second book, Part 2 is going to have all the fill-in of that. It's a special operation. President Trump says 2 different things at every speech, and it's awesome. It's brilliant. The people who don't know that they don't know, and the people that don't know, he keeps them right on the going. But the people like me who knows the laws and orders in place, in every speech, oh, is it epic. Like night before last, oh boy, was it dark and dark and beautiful, but dark. It was awesome though. Kamala doesn't know she's alive. Woo! That's the first time he's ever said that. He said it with Biden all the time. Biden doesn't even know he's alive. It's the first time he said it. He was wearing a black jacket, black coat, gold tie, black hat, gold lettering. Looked like an undertaker. When you know the laws and orders in place, you know what's going on. So if you're not in the category of knowing laws and orders, just keep your mouth shut. And you won't look dumb, you won't look incognizant, you won't look ignorant, you won't look any of that. Just keep your mouth shut. Because laws and orders don't require lies and misinformation. So when you fall for people out there lying and spreading misinformation, when a guy just says laws and orders and explains them to a T, you're looking like the swamp and you're following the swamp. All right. So what they did with this dash was they did a World War II tactic and invoked certain laws and orders that allowed President Trump to have 12 years versus 8. Which is genius. Because most average people right now, they didn't need the people out there saying he's a dictator and he's overthrowing the government and all this other stuff on the lower levels. Doesn't matter what the mainstream media are doing. They're under a code. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing because that's all war powers. 47 U.S. Code 606 is actually titled War Powers of the President. It's titled War Power. It comes with this certain invocation of a president being a wartime president. So the mainstream media are doing what they're supposed to be doing. All of your bigger name people like RFK and all these people, they're in the operation too. They know what's going on. And a lot of my followers struggle with this. So if you're brand new, hey, some of my followers struggle with this. I get messages all the time. And I'm like, if you're still reading that, you're not awake. If you're still following independent.com pages that claim to be some independent news source and all, you're missing out. You're still missing the point of the dash. You don't need any independent broadcaster, independent news this, independent website this. You don't need that. All you need is this and to know what I show are all .mil and .gov. So it's not my legislation. It's not my work from the standpoint of I typed all this and I did it, or it was so, oh, this is a buddy of mine's company and da-da-da-da. No. I show all the receipts of what President Trump put into place. That's it. So when you go back to your 2020 quotes, And I'm going to get to the biggest portion of the nugget right here. But right before it, you got to go back and see the setup. You can't forget what happened in 2016 and expect to know what's going on right now, because there's defined operation. This is a playground. That is defined. There is a definitive playground. Now, it's not going to end at 47, but if you, for sake of argument, just for the sake of it right now, just pretend there's a parameter there. This is a defined operation. 45, 46, 47. It's a defined playground. It's a parameter. However you want to look at it. A fence, a court, whatever you want to look at, it is a defined operation. And it has laws and orders that are definitive of that. So circle it. Square it off. What do you want to do? It has a defined operation to it. Military components and federal components. So if you don't listen to the man and understand what his mission is, first off, they've been cheating in elections way before technology even came about, before even Dominion systems, before all that. Smartmatic. They've been cheating in elections for years. That's why lobbyists have been around and defense contractors. What does he say all the time? What does he say? We're going to end defense contractors and lobbyists because all they do is keep us in wars. They use excuses. Listen to the man. If you love and support him, listen to him. It's beautiful. It's so epic and beautiful what's going on. 2020, he quoted all throughout 2020, all kinds of quotes. He gave you visuals, Eisenhower, Roosevelt. He gave you all kinds of visuals. Plus, he went on a capitulation tour. Now we have podcasters. We have podcasters that claim to be President Trump supporters who claim that a capitulation tour was not real. Boy, are they ever so dangerous, and are they ever so incompetent. There were so many visuals from 2017 to 2020. North Korea is the first president to step into North Korea. Remember what Hillary and Bill all of them said about him? He's going to start a nuclear war with North Korea. What did he do? First president to ever walk in the country, shook hands. Capitulation. Walked in front of the Queen. Capitulation. Soccer ball, Helsinki, Finland, with Putin. Capitulation. All right. Then he had Saudi Arabia. He was crowned a king. Basically, it's a king ceremony, a sword ceremony, prince ceremony. Boom. Saudi Arabia. Those were all capitulations, and there were multiple more. Argentina, there's a bunch of them. India, you name it. Modi from India. They all capitulated. Go to chapter 12 of the Law of War Manual. Guess what was reissued 4 days before President Trump rolled down the escalator to announce his candidacy for president? June the 12th, 2015, the Law of War Manual was reissued, and it was re-strengthened by military and federal attorneys. They took the Law of War Manuals from United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, and Australia, and then they paired them with the Nuremberg trials, the Hague Conventions, Geneva Conventions, and the Lieber Code of 1863. Combine all the strengths of those and re-strengthen that. For whom? Commanders of the military. No, the Law of War Manual doesn't apply to civilians, but it does with when you have laws and orders that are in place, you can pair them together. President Trump, are you a wartime president? All through 2020, are you a wartime president? Well, yeah, I believe I am. Those were all comms for you to see what's going on. Now you hear Kamala and them, which are all fake, but this is all on purpose to do what? Disclosure, baby. Disclosure has what? Closure. Disclosure has closure. What are they saying? President Trump's going to terminate the Constitution. No. There's a thing called the suspension clause, the writ of habeas corpus. It's Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2 of the Constitution. It would behoove all these people claim to be podcasters, but especially the patriots, to go read the Constitution. He most certainly can suspend the Constitution by the Constitution itself. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2. Go read it. It's for rebellion or invasion of public safety. There's proof of that. All kinds of proof of that. So it's a special operation, unconventional warfare, irregular warfare, clandestine operation, covert operation, guerrilla warfare, subterranean warfare. It's all there. Now, there's a few big nuggets that stand out more than any that just are undeniable. They're absolute proof. Absolute. Cannot be quote unquote debunked, denied, any of that. The ones that try are looking like a fool by all definitions. Fool in the Bible, the word fool in the Bible is a strong word. So if you want to look like a fool, hey, display your ignorance for the whole world. It don't change the dash in place. So if you love this man and you support this man, like a broken, beautiful record or a beautiful, broken record, however you want to phrase it, you might want to seek to understand this dash. Now watch this. This is fun. All right. I'm going to preface it with the West Point article. There's a West Point article put out October the 15th, 2021. And it's titled, Assassination in the Law of War. And in the very first paragraph, after the preface paragraph, it says background. In 1977, following revelations of U.S. lethal targeting operations and ensuing church, Senate, and Pike House committee hearings, it's a committee hearing that took place, President Gerald Ford issued Executive Order 11905. Now listen, this is the one you want to take and go back and listen to and break it down. Pause it where you need to. Write it down in the chronological order of what I'm about to show you. The order prohibited executive branch personnel from engaging in or conspiring to engage in political assassination. Subsequent administrations continued the ban. 4 years later, President Reagan issued Executive Order 12333, which as amended remains in effect today. It contains the same prohibition, although it limits application to individuals, quote unquote, acting on behalf of, end quote, the U.S. government. This is epic. I've already broken this down, but once again, epic. Now, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Those two executive orders, one of them tells what the three-letter agencies are not supposed to do. The other one says what they are supposed to do. And it lists all the three-letter agencies inside of those orders. Now, there is a directive that was reissued September the 27th, 2024, that 1 million, whatever the number is, every single podcaster has annihilated and butchered and twisted and have misled hundreds of thousands of Americans because of incompetence and their laziness to study, the whole reason why they're supposed to be an independent podcaster. I received a message from someone that I actually know. It was an RFK video. And RFK talking about this directive. RFK, ladies and gentlemen, first off, to flip and to endorse President Trump, he is a part of this operation on that side of things. If you're still hung up on stuff like that, you are not a patriot and you're not awake. You might be a good person and you might be seeking to become a patriot or seeking to become awake or seeking to finally break through that matrix and see the light that's there for you. But you are not a patriot, and you are clinging to stuff that is supposed to be for the normal people that don't have a clue that there's even remotely close to anything with laws and orders and vote. You're missing the point of the whole operation. President Trump speaks out of two different things. He keeps the civil rest by saying what normies need to hear, what we call normies. And then he says, if you know what I know. So if you're clinging to what RFK says, you're still part of the normie land. And let me show you how. So Executive Order 12333, guess what's in this directive that was reissued by the Department of Defense? Now let's read it first. DoD intelligence and intelligence-related activities and defense intelligence component assistance to law enforcement agencies and other civil authorities. On the very first page, it says the purpose. It says this issuance implements, ladies and gentlemen, activates, implements, meaning this put a emphasis on what we're about to tell you the purpose of this is. Implements Executive Orders 12333, 13388, and Title 50. Those two key components, 1233 and Title 50, are the very things that I've outlined that put me on the map. And then this dash that he put out April 2023, because I've been talking about this long before April 2023, this dash validates me. If it was about me and if it was about validity, then you have that. And this order that thousands of quote-unquote influencers are doing the same thing that mainstream media are doing, but they're under a code. RFK is under an operation. They're not. So you want to know who you can follow and trust? It ain't them. Because they don't have a clue what's going on. Because right here on page one, the purpose of this issuance implements Executive Order 12333 and Title 50. All right, now let's scroll down to levels of authority. Now listen to this. Levels of authority in 3.3 of this directive. Subject to paragraph 3.1, defense intelligence components may provide personnel to assist federal department or agency, including a federal law enforcement agency or state or local law enforcement agency, when lives are in danger in response to a request for assistance in accordance with the following approval authorities. Well, guess who the authority is? The Secretary of Defense. All right, now let's look at 3.2. All right, permissible assistance. Just above that, just right above that in 3.2, the very first paragraph. In accordance with Section 2.6 of Executive Order 12333, so there's your tie-in to the executive order that Ronald Reagan put into place that tells what the three-letter agencies are supposed to do, which ties in with the other active order, 11905, that says what they're not supposed to do. In this directive that all of these podcasters have butchered and twisted because they are incompetent and they don't have a clue what's going on, and they claim that, oh, we're just giving you truth and the facts. They ain't giving you nothing. Now, for people that thinks Biden is real, this shows you, there's a few things that show you he's not, and I'm going to show you. I've already shown you before. But he has an executive order, quote unquote. This is a continuity of government, by the way. A continuity of government, you got to go read the 8 national essential functions of a continuity of government. And the difference in a regular constitutional government and a continuity government are very slim. You got to know very key little details. Because those 8 national essential functions says to maintain a constitutional government, the military. So a lot of it's going to look very, 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 very identical. That's why you got to know the laws and orders in place that make the slight variance difference that shows you. So Joe Biden is a continuity of government. He's not real. There's an executive order October the 7th, 2022. Guess what's in it? All over it. Executive Order 12333. There's your tie-in. 11 times it mentions 12333 in there. All right. Now, watch this tie-in. Title 50. All right. On December the 20th, 2019, who was your president? President Trump. A few key things happened that day that I always talk about. Your Global Fragility Act was passed. The Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is military law, Title 10, was overhauled the first time since 1950, meaning new laws, which means the Courts Martial Handbook had to be upgraded and distributed to whom? Judge Advocate Generals, military judges. All right. Then you had an appointee that day, which is going to come into play later. We'll remember that appointee. That's an extra nugget. All right. And then you had this right here, where you had the Space Force established. There was that. All right. The Army and the Navy transferred all their communication systems to the Space Force in 2022. There's that. All right. There's that key component. And then this. Section 1550 was not in the War Powers Act under the Title 50, which is a War and National Defense booklet, until Donald John Trump and the Congress put it there. And it specifically reads this. And here's how it all ties in. Now watch. 1550 is actually titled Reports and Briefings on Use of Military Force in Support of Partner Forces. Now watch it. Not later than 180 days after December the 20th, 2019, and every 180 days thereafter, the President shall submit to the Congressional Defense Committees, the Committee on Foreign Relations of the Senate, and the Committee on Foreign Affairs of the House of Representatives a report on actions taken pursuant to the authorization for use of military force against those countries or organizations described in such what? Law, as well as any actions taken to command, coordinate, participate in the movement of or accompany the, listen, very carefully, the regular or irregular military forces of any foreign country or government when such forces are engaged in hostilities or in situations where imminent involvement in hostilities is clearly indicated by the circumstances during the preceding 180-day period. That one little word, irregular, ladies and gentlemen, irregular warfare is unconventional warfare. There's your direct tie-in to your unconventional warfare pocket guide that talks about the government in exile, shadow government, subterranean warfare, and your Title 50, Title 10s. There's your tie-in. And then when you go look at that diagram that I talk about, it's going to tie into every nugget that I'm going to show you along the way. That President Trump. Well, let's look at that first 180 days. Not later than 180 days after December the 20th, 2019. Meaning this is when it's starting. This is when it starts. Because it says not later than 180 days. So you got to have one report that starts the report process. The President shall submit to the Congressional Defense Committees. Meaning the Defense Departments. Defense. Congress. Means Congress is a part of this too. So when you go read the breakdown of Title 10 and Title 50, there's always been a discrepancy who has more power, Congress or the President. Well, this ties in the President and the Congress. This means that they are conjoined. This means that they are together on this. That's why they put this clause in the War Powers Act. Title 50 is War and National Defense. Chapter 33 is the War Powers Act of 1973 that Congress amended in 73, and they tried to limit the powers of the President by certain clauses they put in it. And guess what they did? They made it to where a president can declare a national emergency, and if Congress comes on board with it, then they can declare a war. But it's a different kind of war. It's not the kind of war you're used to. That's why it's so far-fetched for some people. But it's not. This is how laws are prescribed. President Trump is using it how it's prescribed on paper and to the T, black and white, not how all these others misconstrued and butchered and twisted through the years and made it fit their narrative that you didn't know about because you forgot knowing what laws and orders were, period, and you let Congress do that. So when Congress told you what they were doing, you believed it because you didn't know any different. That ain't what happened. That's why no liberal is pointing to President Trump saying you can't do this, because he's doing everything to the degree, to the T, black and white, how it reads on paper. And that's why it would behoove all of you, especially you podcasters, but especially a lot of you out there spreading lies and misinformation when it had nothing to do with laws and orders. It would behoove you, if you really are a good person and you really do love this man, it would behoove you to shut the hell up and get with the right program, because it's for everybody. It don't hurt anybody. They've drained the swamp right in front of you and you don't even realize it. It's already drained. It's already been done. Everything's already been done. It's a drip, drip, drop, drip, drip, drop, drip, drip, drop. And it's a drip, drip, drop because you that think like that, not you patriots, but you that think like that, you're the problem. You're the reason why it had to be a drip, drip, drop. Your lack of intelligence and your lack of initiative to apply what brain God gave you, your lack of that is why it had to be drip, dripped. Like, here you go, here's your crumb today, like Hansel and Gretel, here's your crumb. Just come back for your crumb today. You can't handle the full plate. You can't handle the steak. You can't handle the meat and potatoes. You're the problem. You're the reason why it happened this way. So, Title 50, what did that directive say? Executive Order 12333 and Title 50. Title 50. President Trump in that first 180 days federalized 1 million reserve components to active duty. March 27, 2020. And on March the 2nd, 2020, amended the Defense Production Act and extended it all the way to September the 30th, 2025. So every fund that funds anything defense production related was already accounted for on March the 2nd, 2020, because it specifically reads September the 30th, 2025. We're not even there yet. We're 11 months away from that. So, you got to read. You got to know what's in place. He federalized 1 million. Well, then you'll have people out. That was 4 years ago. Doesn't matter. This Executive Order 12333 was put into place with Reagan in 1981. That thing is older than me. And it's still active. It has nothing to do when it was established. Nothing to do. It all depends on who's in charge, who's in command, and can you see the visuals of that? And there are so many visuals that show Donald John Trump never left. He is a wartime president. He's a wartime commander. He's a supreme commander like Eisenhower. Eisenhower was known as a supreme commander of the world. All right, and then another key thing happened right after Executive Order 13912, 13913. We'll get to that one in a minute. I'm going to bring that one up later. But then Executive Order 13919, President Trump directed, after he federalized 1 million reserves, he directed what? Equal authority to the Secretary of Defense. Well, what did this Section 3.2 over here say? Secretary of Defense approval, levels of authority, Secretary of Defense approval. Those executive orders of 2020 have not been revised or revoked. They haven't been revoked. They're active. The same as that executive order from 1981 is still active, President Trump's executive orders are still active. And there's a way to expand your power as a president visually for you, the people. Now, they didn't have to. They don't have to, because this has been a military operation from the get-go. But because you have people out there, liberals, oh, he violated the law, he's a dictator, yada, yada, yada. Presidential emergency action documents. There are a series of national emergencies, proclamations, and executive orders put in a package, presented to the president really fast, where all he has to do is sign them all together. That's what you saw. You saw a rapid fire, 11 executive orders with 11 national emergencies. they expand the power of the president. So when you hear people out there saying the president can only serve 4 years in his term and only 2 terms, they have no idea what they're talking about via military laws and orders. Now, in the executive documents, for people that think Joe Biden's real, like that executive order that from October 7th, 2022, for people that thinks he's real, all right, it's a continuity of government. But until people see the bigger picture and the bigger blueprint of what I outlined, then they're not going to know that. So they're going to think Joe Biden's real. So what you do is you say, all right, in the same Title 50, under 1550, you scroll to the bottom. It ain't far. It's a real quick scroll. Executive documents. Delegation of authority under Section 1285 of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2020. All right. Memorandum of President, July 19, 2021. Now let's do Alabama hillbilly math here. It's not hard math. January 20, 2021. Everybody thought they saw an inauguration by Joe Biden. You didn't, and we'll get to that again for the millionth time, which is what put me on the map, but you didn't. But for those that think you did, let's just do some math here. January 2021, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. 6 months. In 6 months' time, if you think Joe Biden was inaugurated, if you think he's president, then guess what he did? In Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550, in the very bottom, executive documents, by the authority vested in me as president, by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including Section 301 of Title 3, United States Code, I hereby delegate. All right, let me pick on someone here. I see Jenna in here, Jeannie, Grace. All right, I'm going to pick on someone here. Jenna, Grace, I don't want this anymore. I delegate you this authority. I don't want this. This is for you. Take it. I relinquish my authority to you. I hereby delegate to the Secretary of Defense the authority and functions vested in the President of Section 1550 on the use of military force and supportive partner forces to the Congress. So that's saying Secretary of Defense is reporting to Congress what's going on with military. And guess who the Secretary of Defense is? The Secretary of Defense is appointed by the President. So he's second in line. So let's look at a tier system. Here's the Secretary of Defense. This is your President. Well, when you know how laws and orders operate and function, but especially wartime laws and orders, President Trump had already equalized the Secretary of Defense to federalize the selective reserves. Not all of them, but the selective reserves. Not all the military, not all the reserve components, just the selective reserves. So if President Trump directed an equal authority to federalize selective reserves, and here's the Secretary of Defense, and here's President Trump, and here's Joe Biden, quote unquote, for the people who thinks he's real, guess what they did? They gave you a visual that he gave up all his authority as a president, commander-in-chief to the Secretary of Defense, which is a World War II tactic. Once again, civil affairs and war. If you just cannot fathom, for whatever reason, you just don't want to get on board, which you should, but if you just don't want to get on board with the dash and this, if you just want to stay in Normie land, then you have to acknowledge what happened in World War II. Same thing happened. Even though Biden's not in control of the military or anything, but if you want to find a truce here and go to a neutral seat, then you have to acknowledge what's in laws. Because that's what that's saying. I delegate to the Secretary of Defense. If you go over here and look at, once again, what a Secretary of Defense is, and President Trump's already gave him an order that has not been revised or revoked. It's back over here active still. He's equal to him, and he never went away, and you're going to see that on January the 20th. January the 20th proves what I talk about all day long, by military laws, military orders, military regulations, military customs. But for right now, baby stepping people in the normal seat, this is Joe giving up his authority. And it says it. I delegate. Well, let's go back over here to this directive again. Levels of authority. Secretary of Defense approval. And you go back to permissible assistance. Executive Order 12333. So there's your tie-in to Executive Order 12333, which I'm about to bring up the other nugget. You have Title 50. Here's the Title 50 1550 put in place by President Trump and the Congress. So joint. They're in cohesion together. This is a joint partner thing. This is a joint operation. This is joint. President Trump didn't violate any laws. He didn't abuse the power. That's Congress all in agreement with it. And there's Joe giving up his authority. So if the Secretary of Defense has been made equal, and the Secretary of Defense is over here in this new directive that all these podcasters are butchering for their own selfish gain because they have no clue what's going on, who's in charge right now? If President Trump's orders have not been revised or revoked, then the Secretary of Defense is equal to who? Donald John Trump. Laws and orders prove that. All right, now let's move forward. Let's go back to that Executive Order 13913. So President Trump, Title 50, Chapter 33, 1550, in that first 180 days, he federalized 1 million reserve components, March 27, 2020, and then directed Secretary of Defense Equal Authority on April the 30th, 2020, with Executive Order 13919. That same Title 10 that all of us veterans raised our right hand to, guess what all of a sudden? Guess what's in 13912? First paragraph. Invokes Title 10, Section 12302. Executive Order 13919. Invokes Title 10, Section 12304. Title 10. The only person who can federalize the reserve components, National Guard active duty, is the President. Title 10. In between those orders, guess what took place? President Trump. Executive Order 13913. I'm going to read it. Establishing the Committee for the Assessment of Foreign Participation in the United States Telecommunications Service Sector. Ladies and gentlemen, Telecommunications Act of 1996 is your war powers of the President. That is the President's power to control TV, radio, internet broadcast. That's 47 United States Code, Section 606. This Executive Order 13913, guess what's listed in here? In letter C. Intelligence community shall have the meaning assigned to it in subsection 3.5H of Executive Order, drum roll, 12333. There's your tie into Reagan's Executive Order. Now, March 19th, 2024, just not long ago, President Trump filed a court case with the United States Supreme Court. All right, on June the 1st, 2023, the Treasury Department, I got it pulled up here, home.treasury.gov/news. You can find it. Go to Google, search for it. Treasury designates Iranian regime operatives involved in assassination plots in the United States and abroad. This was June the 1st, 2023. Do your math, ladies and gentlemen. It is Alabama hillbilly simple math. The U.S. Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control is designating members and affiliates of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and its external operations arm who have participated in a series of terrorist plots, including assassination plots targeting former United States government officials, dual U.S. and Iranian nationals, and Iranian dissidents. Go read about it. It's very key. Now watch. Executive Order 13848 with the national emergency that President Trump declared for election interference, which requires, it entails rather, a lot more than just you voting at the voting booth. It ain't just, the Smartmatic and the Dominion change of vote. Election interference is multiple layers. That Executive Order 13848, You can go over to Google and you can look up the all the assets frozen. Well, Executive Order 13848 has who frozen? Iran. It's all there. Who just got bombed by Israel this past week? Who got bombed by them? I think that was Iran. Subterranean, all underground facilities, etc. Yeah. And in June 2018, guess what happened? The Army put out an article on military.com, June 24, 2018. The Army is spending $572 million for our next wars will be in mega cities, not inside them, but beneath them. That's subterranean warfare. $572 million. All right. May 2019, Army publication by a female officer. Give your hand clap, ladies. Females. Female officer publication at a war college, Fort Leavenworth. All right. Kansas. Right. And it says, shaping the deep fight. So it's about conflicts coming up. 2019, May 2019, Hamas, Gaza, Egypt, cross-border operations. The whole Israeli conflict in Gaza is outlined in an Army publication in May 2019. And guess what it says in there? The Army is spending $572 million. Now go to August 2019. All right. Washington Examiner and a few others out there. The war. Army spending $572 million for the wars are going to sewers and tunnels. Subterranean warfare. All right. Then, later in August 2019, court case. Johnson & Johnson. State of Oklahoma. Johnson & Johnson loses an opioids case. Well, who is that? That's Big Farm. All this stuff they make Joe Biden lie about. This is how oblivious and how blind liberals are, especially. Donald John Trump is the one who hammered Big Farm. He's the one that went out and wiped out Big Farm. He's the one that got the insulin costs down. All that stuff is what Joe Biden in his past is known for. He's a puppet. He ain't real, but they're showing you what he's known for. He's a plagiarist. They plagiarize. They steal. They copycat. Same thing that all these podcasters are doing right now. They don't know this stuff like I do. They don't know it on the front. They regurgitate it. And because they deliver it softer, more people follow them, but they're not the ones that knew it on the front. That's dangerous because of their motives. They're also replicating the swamp. So Joe Biden's known for that. That's what he's always been known for in the past. All right? So, opioids case. Guess who issued an executive order to combat opioids? President Donald John Trump in 2017. All right, take your June 2018, take your May 2019, take all your articles about. Now look at this court case. Johnson & Johnson forced to pay $572 million. What are the odds of that? President Trump, all the visuals you see of the drug trafficking bus, President Donald John Trump. All these National Guard going down to the border, federalization. They can only be federalized, leaving their states. South Dakota going to California. Another one, Alabama's going to California and Texas. All these states are going to the border. That's federalization. The only person who did that is President of the United States of America. The only president who's done that is Donald John Trump. It's all there. It's right in front of you. November 2019, Defense Intelligence Agency puts out a publication about Iran and their what? Underground facilities. Subterranean warfare. What's going on in Iran right now? Everything put out in 2019 by the whom? Military. So for all of you out there calling your friends and family conspiracy theorists because they share me and they share my book, you're a fool by all standards. But especially if you're married to a military member, you are by definition a dependent. That's all you are. You're a paycheck. All you are is you divide your legs and you multiply for them. That's what you are. You don't want to hear it that way, but that's what you are. That's exactly what you are. If you care about this nation, if you love your military member, you might want to know the laws and orders that they're serving under. So shut your trap and get a part of history versus replicating what the swamp looks like. Because that's what you look like. You look like the swamp. And your friends and family may not tell you as blunt as I do, but I will because I don't care. And you need to hear it that way. All right, so Executive Order 11905 and 12333. Very important. Now let's look at page 27 and 28 of 11902. 1905, excuse me. All right, so on page 27, there's a CIA.gov. You can go look this up. It's 38 pages long. That's why most of these people are oblivious, because they don't want to read 38 and 48 and 1,000-page manuals like I do. All right. But on page 28, listen to what it says they can't do. This is Gerald Ford's order of what they can't do, the three-letter agencies. Now watch this. Physical surveillance. All right. Let's see. Where's the other one at? Electronic surveillance to intercept communication. Unconsented physical searches. Opening of mail and examination of envelopes. Examination of federal tax returns or tax information. Infiltration of undisclosed participation within the United States. Now listen to what I just read there. This is an executive order that is still active to this day. Or what the three-letter agencies cannot do, period. Whoever it is, but especially the president. Now what happened in 2017? Who did President Trump start hammering? The three-letter agencies, but he was specific. You got to listen. He said specifically, it's not the three-letter agency itself. It's not the organization itself. It's also not all the people in it. It's the senior level leadership. Just a couple weeks ago in Wisconsin, he circled back around. Disclosure, it's all coming. Disclosure. He said it's the higher echelon of the three-letter agencies. Right? So, that right there tells you straight up what they cannot do. And President Trump started hammering the three-letter agencies in 2017. Hammering them. And who the people were doing that. The DOJ, he said they weaponize it against presidents and other people trying to do what's right. That's why you got to listen. Ford was shot. Reagan was shot at. They're the ones that put these key executive orders in. There's been people who fought along the way, but guess what didn't happen around them? The people around them didn't fight with them. There's no way that President Trump got in unless a massive military and world leaders and leaders are backing him. And they're cohesive, and they're all on the same page. There's no other way. Because other presidents tried, but didn't. And even when they wrote the laws, when they wrote executive orders which require no legislation, what took place? Congress didn't follow suit. They kept butchering and misconstruing and discombobulating the people, making you think it was and wasn't. That's why it's very key to understand what's going on. All right, now, remember what happened? 2017, President Trump did that. Then what did he say in 2017? These people spied on what? Trump Tower? They spied on my campaign? What's it say right there? What's it say? Electronic surveillance? You can't, and it also says up here, physical surveillance and electronic surveillance? No. All right, so that also exonerates Richard Nixon because of the Watergate phone call. That was all based on a phone call. They tapped his phone and listened in on him. They're exonerating other people along the way. All right, there's also what? What does Jack Smith and all these fake attorneys do? They did what? They have a court case for President Trump right now. In Supreme Court, there's a case filed. You can still go read about it, about federal tax returns. What does this executive order say cannot be done? Federal tax returns, tax information. President Trump's got them all by the you-know-what. But this was all a plan. This has all been planned out. This is all an operation. So all you got to do, boo-boo, is hang on for the ride. All you got to do is hang on and acknowledge what's going on. You don't need to be fearful. You don't need to be following with all these swamp people. This is what's going on, baby. They're all trapped. They trapped them all by laws. All by laws. Because the laws are already on paper. So all you got to do is go, well, you did this and this, this, and this. And there's enough people now backing him. This is an operation. All right. What also happened? Who raided Mar-a-Lago? Right? Even though I know that's an operation, what's it say right here? Can't do that. All right? You can't do anything like that. You can't search things like that. You can't do it. So everything you've witnessed is right here in these laws and orders. And then you got to take the 1, 2, 3, 3, 3 and pair it everywhere that it's been announced and how they all tie in. So Biden's a continuity government, but it mentions in an executive order 1, 2, 3, 3, 3. So if the guy says President Trump is a threat to democracy, if he says he don't need to be remotely close to the White House, D.C., laws and orders, then what's he doing putting executive order 1, 2, 3, 3, 3 in that ties into this court case of President Trump's for assassinations? It wouldn't make any sense if that were a normal scenario. So that's how you know. All right? Now, and then also you tie in the Ukrainian phone call. So that ties in the Watergate and Ukraine, quote unquote. All right, March 19, 2024. That Supreme court case. All right? It specifically says what it says in there, and I'm going to read it right here. But let me pull this up really fast. Just on the layman's term, it talks about Title 10, all veterans. There you are. You can't have one without the other. All these people are saying veterans against Trump. You're an idiot. You are an idiot. If you're a veteran against President Trump, you don't know what laws and orders you served under. You're a disgrace to the United States military. And until you learn what's in place and you profess that you were wrong, you're a disgrace to the United States military and brothers and sisters, all of us. You're a disgrace to it. You can't have one Title 10 without the other. You can't. And there's enough visuals of massive world leaders of all walks, all races, ethnicities, nationalities. There's all walks of people that are supporting President Trump. And if you're falling for all the stuff that says, oh, all these people said that they wouldn't support President Trump, you're missing the swamp draining. All the Bush aides, Romney aides, McCain, Dick Cheney, they're all swamp people. They're all people who were all about foreign oil, foreign wars. Iraq, Syria, Egypt, Kosovo, Bosnia, Somalia, Vietnam, Korea, Libya, Lebanon, all these places have never been a threat to our Constitution. If you believe so, you have missed out on what's been going on, period, on the bigger picture for years. You have missed where Congress violated the Constitution and implemented the powers of the president be suppressed. You missed all these wars that they started, and it's because people quit caring about what matters. These nations were never a threat to our Constitution. Our Title 10, Section 502 says to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, on our turf, coming to our turf. And I'm going to show you that 9/11 was rigged in this new Supreme Court document that President Trump has filed, which takes down all the other stuff that people could even say. So this Supreme Court document talks about Title 10, assassinations, and Executive Order 12333. There's your tie-in. So go back to your directive that all these podcasters, all these quote-unquote influencers have butchered and twisted because they're not seeking to understand the operation and special operations of the military and how that operates and functions and why they use certain things with the public. So what they're looking like is the public that don't know what's going on yet. And that's okay because you don't know what's going on until you do know what's going on. That's fine. But these podcasters are looking like the same public that don't know what's going on when I read what took place. All right, so it's a special operation, unconventional warfare, page 11 of the diagram and the clause in there. All right. So when you read this Supreme Court doc, I'm going to read the 4 bullet points really fast. 1, the president's broad power as commander-in-chief does not include the authority to order the military to commit murder. Number 2, military law and executive order forbid murder and assassination. So that hammers 2 different topics, murder and assassination. All right. Then under that, number 2, it says specifically, murder is a crime under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Uh-oh, vets, there's our Title 10. And then it says an executive order bars assassination. Well, guess what that is? That's Executive Order 12333. An executive order bars assassination. That's the executive order 12333 itself later on in the case. And then number 3, military officers are not required to carry out unlawful orders. But if the military officers are not taught the laws and orders, which they don't teach us in the military, they don't teach what I know in the military whatsoever on any level. All right, except for the officers that are coming out of your colleges, commission, and also your places like West Point, Air Force Academy, and the Naval Academy. That's it. But they don't teach enlisted any of this. So every veteran that knows what I'm talking about, you've been in, we've seen it, you see it. You've seen arguments with officers and enlisted all the time. When an order comes in, you see arguments. The argument didn't stand with the fact that, oh, it was an unlawful order. It was just a lot of people, I don't want to do that, I ain't going to do that, no, a bunch of stuff. Yeah, there's all kinds of arguments. Then number 4, the military will not carry out an order to commit murder. And it's true, though, from the standpoint of most officers in the military are good people. Now, they may not know what's going on in the bigger picture, and a lot don't, but most people in the military are good people. So you got to separate what I'm saying about the people who went in for money and benefits and that. They can still be good people. So when they're presented with laws and orders in place, we will see what kind of integrity they have. Now, here's how this all ties in. The very first paragraph of this Supreme Court doc that President Trump just filed March 19, 2024, which was all planned, by the way. This ain't a fire as you go. This is all planned. But they wouldn't have put it out before then because people like me know how to find it. And if they'd have put it out long before what you saw July 13th, which was all a plot, and it's all part of a special operation, it was not a real assassination attempt. All right? It's a plot, and it could be a plot of something that happened beforehand. And it could be a sting operation, which it is. That's what it is. It's actually a sting operation because of the June 1st, 2023. You have enough information in place to show that they're going to do a sting operation. Why do you all watch Cops? Why do you all watch shows that require sting operations but don't believe it when it actually happens in real life? How do you think they have TV shows? How do you think they have movies? And why wouldn't you want to believe that the greatest plot of all, the greatest, most biblical, monumental, historical operation on the man doesn't require clandestine operations, which are mainly secretive. The missions are. All right, guerrilla warfare, which depends on who's in charge. Once again, the art of war tells you that all of warfare is deception. It's all based on deception. So when the good guys are in control of the war, though, when the good guys are in control and draining out the bad guys, you have nothing to fear. And it doesn't hurt you to know that. And that's what's going on. So watch this. Introduction and interest of amici curiae. Could a president, this is a question, could a president order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival? End quotation. That question was posed by a member of the panel at oral argument in the court below. Amici curiae, ladies and gentlemen, is a Latin word for friends of the court. Amici curiae, who have served as military combat generals and senior officials at the Pentagon and have held other senior executive branch positions, submit that the answer to the panel member's question is a resounding no. Ladies and gentlemen, the last time that SEAL Team 6 was involved in anything with the president was Osama bin Laden. And I know one of those guys personally, SEAL Team 6. And I did a show with him and we broke this down on there. So you should go watch that with Michael Jaco. SEAL Team 6, the guy who found Osama bin Laden. He's the guy. Go watch it. All right. Then you have this right here, the Supreme Court case. Well, also in 2011, who's that tie in? Gaddafi. Osama bin Laden was murdered in 2011, and Gaddafi was murdered in 2011. Well, what's that bring up? That's Libya and Benghazi. Who does that bring back into the picture? Hillary. It all links them together. All right? So, it's all here in this court case. Now, this was filed 4 months before July 13th. Now, let's go look at the Special Operations Command diagram. If you look at the diagram, at the very bottom it says assassinations, comma, forming favorable public opinion, parentheses, advocating national cause, close parentheses, comma, creation of distrust of established institutions. Now, when you take in when we started with the West Point article, and you take in the Department of Defense, this DOD directive that all the world's butchering right now, but it ties in Executive Order 12333 and Title 50. We read Title 50 with the irregular warfare word, which ties into unconventional warfare, which is the Unconventional Warfare Pocket Guide by the Special Operations Command, which is where this diagram is, and then this line in there. Then you go look at this Supreme Court case filed March 19, 2024, which is 4 months before July 13th, when the whole world thought their man was being assassinated, and they lost their marbles because oh, Derek Johnson, how could you? Because I'm operating with no emotions in military. You're operating in a civilian capacity simply because you just love this man, and that's fine. You can love this man, but that dash represents a military operation, and it's all public information. Everything I'm reading to you, you can tangibly put your hands on and type it in and go read it, because it's all issued to the public. So you let your love and emotions stand in the way of an operation. The operation is done lawfully. It's all been done lawfully. So nothing I say would be a smear against this man. It only validates the bigger process, and it actually empowers you and educates you and takes you out of normie world and takes you out of the normie section and puts you into the know and empowers you and educates you. And then you might be someone who actually has the brains to function and operate on the front side, not the regurgitation type side like 99% of these podcasters do. You might be on the front and go, oh my gosh, you may have found a whole new love and a whole new strength you didn't know you had, and you may become a part of this down the road, or maybe immediately, with what you bring to the table, because you empowered yourself and you laid your emotions aside and you sought to understand why this man put this out April 2023, claiming 47 a year and 7 months before the actual date that even decides or determines the first process of number 47. And all these tie in. Assassinations, comma, forming favorable public opinion. I'm pretty sure that's what it did to everybody. What did everybody start doing? Secret Service, FBI, CIA. Checkmate, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, but you're still on the normie side because you're still mad about it. Versus going, it's a sting operation, special operation, clandestine operation, unconventional warfare, irregular warfare, unconventional warfare, guerrilla warfare. It's all there. So see, you're mad, and it did what it's supposed to do. If you're still mad, bitter, angry, upset, all those other things, checkmate. Special operations, assassinations, forming favorable public opinion. Beep. Advocating national cause. Well, it happened in quote-unquote Pennsylvania, so it wasn't just a Pennsylvania thing. It wasn't the Pittsburgh Steelers losing. It wasn't the Philadelphia Eagles losing, and them talking smack to each other and everybody else not caring, right? The Philadelphia Flyers, the Pittsburgh Penguins. It ain't something Pennsylvania advocated national cause. Checkmate. It did that as well. Then it says creation of distrust of established institutions. Who did President Trump hammer again in 2017? The established institutions that are all listed in these Executive Orders 12333 of what they're to do, and the Executive Order 11905 what they're not to do, and they've been doing all the things they're not supposed to do. Checkmate, checkmate, checkmate. Sting operation. You do everything by laws and orders, and everything works accordingly. What has President Donald John Trump done the whole time as a wartime president? Invoked all the laws and orders and enforced all the laws and orders as prescribed on paper, black and white. Not misconstrued, not the way that fits his belief system and a certain group of people. Nope. As it's prescribed by the law. Now let's tie it in one step further. Oh, it gets better. Oh, could it get better? Remember on the debate? You remember on the debate with Kamala, right? Remember that? Oh, you can butcher that 10 ways to Tulsa and back. But on the debate, the ABC host said, let's talk about deportation. That's one of the key topics you want to talk about. President Trump, you said you would use the military to remove these people, and what would that look like? And he said what? What did President Trump say? He's a smart ass like I am, but when you have all the facts, by definition, and you have all the truth, by definition, you can be a smart ass all day long because I can back it up. What did President Trump say? He said, and law enforcement. See all these people? They butchered this one intelligence activity to fit their little tiny brains that they have no knowledge about this whole bigger operation like I do. Now, just because I'm smarter than you don't mean I'm better than you. And that's where people are struggling out there. I am smarter than a lot of these people, but I'm not better than them. All I'm saying is that you need to fall in line accordingly. Is that, yeah, I'm smarter than you and I can retain a lot more than you, but I'm not better than you. You're the one, the people out there, not you, but whoever you are, you're the ones that making it feel that I'm better than you because you're feeling guilt. That's called guilt. That's called a guilty conscience. And guess what God gave us? Even though you may defy all of your other consciences, God did give you a moral conscience. And you're violating your moral conscience because you know that I know the whole package, the whole thing, and I have everything that everybody needs. And you're feeling guilty because you can't hold that capacity. So you butcher and you twist and you do all this stuff because you want to be a part of something so bad, but you're not trying to be a part of it the correct way. So all these podcasters out there saying that this directive, and RFK said it too, he's part of the operation, you're not, all right? This directive ties in the intelligence. The 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, it says it on the very first, the purpose. 3 things it listed. 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, the 13388, and the Title 50. Everything's been invoked by President Trump by those. And President Trump told the whole world on the quote-unquote debate, he corrected the ABC guy. He said military, he said, and law enforcement. And the people butchering this are saying that this is Joe Biden weaponizing the military and law enforcement to go against the people. And all of these laws and orders are in place, and this new Supreme Court docket filed March 19, 2024 ties all the 1, 2, 3, 3, 3 into place. It ties all of it into place. So you should be able to see, after running all these in an order again, you should be able to see that these people are incompetent people. They don't need to have a platform whatsoever. They don't need it. Until they get with a program or study this, all they're doing is misleading people. And the whole point of this operation was to leave the swamp, was to leave propaganda, was to leave nonsense garbage, was to leave drama, was to leave surface level bullcrap. Empower yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. It don't matter how tough it is. And also with podcasters, it don't matter that it's tough. You're supposed to feed the people what matters. If they can't understand it, well, you need to try harder to help them understand it like I do daily. But now that it's already been unveiled, see, a lot of these are regurgitating, and trying to look like they discovered something. And they got a lot of people fooled over the comment box, but they can't back it up. So people are making dumb comments, and a natural dumb, not dumb, but they're going, whoa, hey, what about this and this and this? And these people don't back it up. So I have a #1 bestseller book for a reason. It's a #1 for a reason. It's already been put out. And my platform was already talking about it long before this dash. So you regurgitators out there, you need to fall in line, take a step down. You need to put credit where it's due. And because none of you knew it on the front end, put credit where it's due. It ain't about credit as far as like me, I. But you don't have a clue what's going on. And all you're doing is misleading people. Facts are facts. Now, to tie it all in, to put the little cherry on top. Amicus Curiae. Friends of the court. There's 3 people listed in the Supreme Court doc. 3 people. One of them is 3-star General Keith Kellogg. President Trump in North Carolina about a month and a half ago said, "I'd like to recognize someone who's been with me before all of this." All of what? Before all of what, President Trump? He was with you before all of what? Keith Kellogg is the man he recognized in North Carolina. I bought a new shirt that President Trump has on his website that you can do a donation for, and it says America First. It's got 45-47 on the sleeve. America First. Guess who is in the America First organization? Keith Kellogg. Guess who wrote the 2017 National Security Strategy? Keith Kellogg. Guess what the last National Security Strategy is on defense.gov? 2017 NSS, Donald John Trump's, authored by Keith Kellogg. Ladies and gentlemen, if Joe Biden was president, there's a 2022 NSS, but it pulls up on a whitehouse.gov, not on defense.gov. That is a continuity of operations. Because on the surface, most people don't know that. Most people don't know that that is supposed to be archived on defense.gov, Department of Defense, not on whitehouse.gov. Which also ties in December the 20th, 2019. The last Deputy Secretary of Defense, Deputy Secretary of State was appointed December the 20th, 2019. And sworn in December the 21st, 2019. All right. Now let's look at this. The last GPO, Government Publishing Office Director, that was appointed by President Donald John Trump. Guess who the first federal continuity directive of your continuity of operations, your continuity of government, was published by January the 17th, 2017, 3 days before President Trump took that beautiful, familiar oath. We're taking the power out of D.C. and giving it back to you, the people, where the military walked down behind him right then. Judge Advocate General Head Sidney, and also military intelligence. Government Publishing Office, it ties in. All right, the National Security Strategy, National Security Council. All right, it's on the usgovernmentmanual.gov. All right, what does Joe Biden and Kamala say President Trump is? He's a threat to democracy, and he's a threat to national security. But on National Security Council, if you go over to that U.S. government manual, guess what it says? It says General Milley. When you click on it, it goes over to Charles Brown. Then you scroll to the bottom, it says this page was last updated March 2021. Go over to the White House Military Office. All right, go to the Wikipedia first. It's hilarious. 2022 and to present day. It says Garrett Hoffman. You know what Garrett Hoffman is? That's the fictional character name of Rain Man, of the movie Rain Man with Tom Cruise, Garrett Hoffman. There's been no White House office. And there's not even a White House military office archive for President Trump, which is how I prove he's never been a president by constitutional standards. He's been a wartime president by constitutional standards. Because if he was a regular president, he would have an archive of the White House military office. But he told you, he says in speeches, they've said I've been to D.C. 17 times. So that tells you he's never been in D.C. the whole time. I'm going to shut my window just for everybody because I see the sun's coming in. All right, so you can keep hearing me. Get that shut. If he was a president by constitutional standards, he would have an archive page. It's not there. All right. And since he don't have one, guess who else doesn't have one? Joe Biden. And he should. If he were president, he should. All right, state.gov. The last presidential travel abroad, Donald John Trump. The last foreign leader to the U.S., 2020. The last Secretary of State, foreign travel, Pompeo. Then you go over to other portions of the website. Guess what it says? Currently suspended. Why? And why is Joe Biden scheduled on a .com and not a .gov? Rollcall.com, and they don't update it until Monday. So shows you it's a 9 to 5. It's all an operation, special operation. So once again, January the 20th, 2021, it's very simple. Everybody, the world thought they witnessed inauguration. They didn't. Joe Biden, if he were president, you'd be able to take a list like this and go, okay, let's list all the things that a president receives, and let's see, did Joe Biden receive that? Flight into D.C. on Air Force One? No. That's a tradition. Raise his right hand at 11:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is a violation of the 20th Amendment. Checkmate. Yes, he did. He raised his right hand at the wrong time, which is a violation of the 20th Amendment. Guess what's in a Supreme Court case with President Trump against all kinds of people? It talks about the 20th Amendment. All right. Then you had Amazing Grace was performed by Garth Brooks, which in Army Memorial PDFs, all right, funerals. Amazing Grace is a song, full song. There's never been Amazing Grace played for a president before. All right, there's that. All the National Guard did not salute the motorcade, which anytime the beast is rolling around, it has flags on it. We salute a moving flag. You didn't see that. Then the 3 cannons and the 4 cannons. A 4 cannon salute, 21 rounds fired is a 21 gun salute by definition. 4 cannons. The only 4 cannons shown all day long were with President Trump at Joint Base Andrews. And the TV told you that's the official presidential salute banner. They told you. The 3 cannons at Arlington were the only cannons shown all day long for Joe Biden. The soldiers were moving around. They didn't perform any ceremony. They couldn't make tape. They're fat and overweight. All right, so that's what you call can't make tape. Sorry, fat people, but that's just the way the military is. All right. Then there was no commissioned officer present. Army Regulation 600-25. There's always be a commissioned officer at cannon salutes. That's cannon salutes 2-3. Army Regulations. All right, there was none of that. 3 cannons at Arlington. You go to arlingtonnationalcemetery.mil. You go to the official military website of Arlington. It tells you the 3 volley salute, seen or heard. There's your visual. There's your audio. Seen or heard at Arlington. Rifle cannon is not to be confused with a 21 gun salute. It tells you straight out the gate. The 3 volley salute is a military funeral service. Sucks to suck. It is what it is. The first time, 50 states were in one location at one time, National Guard. The only person who could have put them there was Donald John Trump. Title 10, sections 12302, 12304, and 12406. Oh, what a coincidence. 12302 and 12304 were activated, were invoked March 27, 2020 and April 30th, 2020. Right before that. Not long before that. It's not rocket science. Well, people make it rocket science. All right. 11 executive orders, 11 national emergencies. 8 of those have been continued. That's all part of my operation. All right. This is a bigger operation than even the president's seats. All right, here's a few more things like you saw recently. You saw Kamala on the debate. She talked about Donald Trump has no plan for you. The root word of that sentence is plan. All right, she named 2 people endorsements. She said Wharton School of Finance, and then she named the Goldman Sachs Group. All right. Well, President Trump issued Executive Order 130. Dang, I sound like Joe Biden today, the actor. But 13959, November the 12th, 2020. All right, with the national emergency. But it didn't go into effect until January the 11th, 2021, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right? So, that's when Bill Gates stepped down from his he didn't step down. He announced divorcement with his wife, which is an asset split. And there's certain ways you can do that legally and maintain or keep a lot of your money, possibly, if it went through court that way. Also, Warren Buffett stepped down from the Bill Gates Foundation. Jeff Bezos stepped down for philanthropy reasons. All right, who just retracted their endorsement for Harris? Bezos. That was just a recent article yesterday. All right, Mark Zuckerberg dumped $350 million in stock in 6 months. 2,500 CEOs stepped down. There's over 3,000 pages right now as we speak. 3,000 pages, not names. 3,000 pages of assets frozen by that executive order. And guess who one of them is? All right. They've been busted by the SEC.gov. Goldman Sachs, 2022, 2023, and 2024. And guess what it says specifically? So Kamala says Donald Trump has no plan for you. And she's saying she's endorsed by Goldman Sachs. Well, guess what it says? It says this. Goldman Sachs busted for not having contingency plan in place on 163 million transactions. And then there's another article you can read, official article about them that says Goldman Sachs is one of the key components of the 2008 financial crisis. I don't think that's who you want out of your mouth. She's good with other sacks in her mouth, but she shouldn't have that one in it. If it were real. It's not. All right, President Trump just had a speech on the 25th where he said, we're an occupied nation. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what put me on the map? It's a law war manual talking about we're in a covert operation, we're in a military occupation, which is all special operations. So you got to just do it. It's a special operation, sting operation, clandestine operation, which is unconventional warfare, which is irregular warfare. Then you just work your way down. Military occupation. Go to the Law War Manual, chapter 11.6, and read about occupied territories. All right, that is validation. Because in a normal conversation, you're sitting around your campfire, you're sitting around your living room, and your dining table, whatever it is, and you say, do you just talk about occupied territory? How many people in your family, if you said, hey, let's talk about an occupied territory and about a law of war manual? So him saying that in a group of people who are a normal group of people, nope, 99% of them, it might fly right over unless they're a patriot that I know that's there. But if you're a patriot and you know what's invoked and you know what that means, that is full validity. That's validation. He's telling you that is disclosure. White flag of surrender, Angela Merkel. He talked about that throughout 2022 and 2023. He said, I gave Angela Merkel, the former Chancellor of Germany, the white flag of surrender. It's law, the white flag of truce, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what chapter that's in of the Law of War Manual? Chapter 12. Guess what's else in chapter 12? Capitulations. See how this all ties in? It's beautiful. All right, February 2024, he gave you a visual. February 2024, John Bolton's on CNN. The question was, can President Trump win a second term? With all the accusations on all this other stuff. John Bolton now. All right, let's ask this. What did he say? He said, the Constitution bars President Trump from serving a third term. But I think that he will seek to amend the Constitution to have a third term. That was John Bolton in February of this year on CNN. 1, 2, 3. Uno, dos, tres. They tell you. Why would John Bolton, of all people who turned, quote unquote, turn on President Trump in the first place, for people that think that, it's all an operation. But I tell people, don't decide who's good or bad because you don't know who's playing roles. You don't know that. This is an operation. But Why would John Bolton, for the normal people who thinks he turned on President Trump, why would he be talking about President Trump on CNN having a record third term, which is not a record. This is, once again, it's constitutional. Congress violated, once again, 1951. Why would he be talking about? Same month, February 29th, leap year, baby. February 29th, President Trump's in Texas. The first appearance the Adjutant General, the Commanding General of all the state forces of Texas, decides to make is with the quote-unquote former president. And they showed Biden that day in Brownsville, Texas. They show you, ladies and gentlemen. They put this so right in front of you, it's just like, you know what, kind of slapping you back and forth without doing it. They did that on purpose. Biden is in Brownsville, Texas, the same day President Trump was with the governor of Texas and the Adjutant General, and President Trump's the former. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't at ease a former president. Just because you become president don't mean you're military after that, if you're a former president. You don't at ease a former president. When President Trump walked in that fob down there, at ease. Carry on. But they didn't carry on because the commander-in-chief walked in the room. All right? They showed you a rank command that day. They showed you a chain of command. They showed you a rank structure. Right on the world TV. All right? And they had to show Biden, and that was perfect because he's not. That visual showed you who is and who ain't. The Adjutant General, ladies and gentlemen, reports to the state chief executive, the governor, unless the National Guard are federalized by Title 10. And the week before President Trump was in Texas, Nebraska sent their National Guard to Texas. The week after, Arkansas sent their National Guard. Just a week or two back, South Dakota just sent theirs. Alabama's sending theirs this week. Michigan's sending theirs this week. Saw President Trump. And he showed you a visual. And he told you that day, it's a military operation. He said it twice. It's a military operation. It's a military operation. But they're keeping the people at bay because they don't need you distracted. You don't know military language. You don't know military missions. You don't need to know that. Too many Americans want to stick their nose into stuff that you just don't need to know about right now in great detail. You can know about the operation from a shell. You don't need to know the insides completely. You can know some of them if you apply your initiative. That was a rank structure, chain of command. Title 10, the Adjutant General. So there's the governor, but there's your commander-in-chief and adjutant general. So the adjutant general reports to the governor unless the National Guard are federalized by Title 10. President Trump's the only one who's federalized the National Guard to active duty by Title 10. It's all right in front of you. All right, the felon stuff, the liberals, this is real simple. The felon, they call him a felon by civil standards. All right. Well, if Donald Trump was a former president, he's met with 7 foreign leaders 8 different times. Biden with Obama as vice president and then President Obama, right? They hammered their own Defense Intelligence Agency director with the Logan Act, 18 United States Code, Section 953, which is titled Private Correspondence with a Foreign Leader. They hammered him, stripped him of his rank, did all this stuff, smeared him to the public, etc., 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 right? If President Trump was a former president, he has met 7 leaders, foreign leaders, 8 different times at Mar-a-Lago, which is a private establishment. And all Joe Biden said to the media was, President Trump's just trying to one-up me for the presidency. A presidency he would drop out of? I don't think so. If President Trump was a former president, the whole world has witnessed him meet with these foreign leaders. He would have no standing to say it didn't happen. It's been publicized on every mainstream market that he's met with these foreign leaders. He would have no defense, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing if he was a former president. If he was a former president doing that, the liberals and Democrats could charge him with the Logan Act, 18 United States Code, which is federal crime. That's a federal offense. That's what the 18 U.S. It's the criminal procedures of the federal offense. Federal. All right, it's federal, not civil anymore, not with a hooker. No, this is federal. All right, they can charge him with the Logan Act, 18 United States Code, Section 953, and invoke the 25th Amendment on him. He can never serve again if he was a former president, because he's given every visual display of breaking federal law if he was a federal, and if he's a former president. He's not. All right, and then just a few more nuggets. Obviously, the Sam call sign. Every time they shown Joe Biden flying anywhere, quote unquote, this week was the most perfect. I showed Air Force One, the VC-25. It left Colorado, came down to Arizona, and circled around. The other Air Force One VC-25 was taken off from Phoenix, Arizona. They said Biden was speaking at 11:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. That aircraft took off at right around 11:50, 11:55 a.m. There's no way that he made a speech way south of Phoenix at that Native American reservation. That aircraft was already fired up and on the runway long before 11:50. There's no way. For those that thinks he's real. It's been like this from day one. The VC-25 has not flown with an official presidential call sign, Sam. Anytime they've ever shown Biden anywhere or Kamala, they're supposed to have a special air mission, Sam. It flies no call sign. Then I filter out and I put all the civilian aircraft around it. They got aircraft flying above it, under it, around it, beside it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a violation of 7310.3DD of FAA guidelines, which is a .gov. They're nowhere to be in the proximity, remotely close, of the president, the vice president. You can't be there. Or executive, so the family of the president. Exec 1 Foxtrot's what the call sign is for that. Nowhere remotely close. They show one of them. They even show one of the VC-25s over the Atlantic. Aircraft going over it, under it. Ladies and gentlemen, if one of those people, we were in a real situation, and one of those people knew they were going over Air Force One or under it, and they thought, you know what, I'm tired of living, I can't stand what's going on, boom, you wouldn't have that. You want to talk about national security? Let's talk about it. If he was a former, when an aircraft gets decommissioned, anybody can buy it. When a military piece of equipment, like a Humvee or a tank, they strip everything down and civilians can buy it. All right. All of the SAM call signs are on what? The Department of Defense. Now go back to that directive and read who the approval process is again. Secretary of Defense. All of your Department of Defense aircraft are flying with SAM call sign, the presidential call sign. Who directed equal authority to the Secretary of Defense? President Donald John Trump. The National Guard are out of their states daily. They're operating in their states daily, and they're operating out of them daily, going all over the country. Ladies and gentlemen, that means they're federalized. The states, the governors have control of the National Guard for state emergencies only. Anytime a National Guard goes anywhere outside of their state jurisdiction, they are federalized. The only person who's done that is Donald John Trump. And those are your daily visuals, and it's been like that. Those orders didn't transfer. And January the 20th more than proves they didn't transfer. All right, then two more key nuggets. But also appeared with that National Guard. Go back to your World War II. Remember, they seized all airports. All these foreign entities are 99%. All the foreign aircraft in our nation daily are on municipal, regional, and county airports. We're talking about podunk towns in the middle of nowhere. That is not what would be happening, ladies and gentlemen. They're also on National Guard bases 99% of the time. Well, there's your National Guard code. There's your National Guard order invocation. It's all there. All right, two more big nuggets that's happened. Also, is a TFR, so a temporary flight restriction. All right. Joe Biden has not had a TFR anywhere they've shown him. And that's what I've been showing on my pages recently. And I showed this long time ago, but I'm circling back around because they're very key important right now, especially now that they've shown Joe Biden, quote unquote, step down, right? Well, they got a TFR around where Kamala is. But they have a TFR around President Trump as well. All right? So why don't they have a TFR around the guy who is your quote-unquote sitting president? Because he's not. So President Trump has a TFR. There's no TFRs for presidential candidates. So there's one way to prove that President Trump is your sitting current wartime president. It's a wartime commander, different position in a special operation. Kamala has a TFR because she's an actress. You can look at her and tell that. The same earrings. I'm the one that wrote that, and all the regurgitators went and ran with it. I'm the one that kept showing the earrings. You can go to my Telegram and look at the timestamps of the earrings. All right. I pay attention to details. Regurgitators don't, but whatever. The earring. Same earring everywhere. Same earring. Same earring. Well, it's a little earpiece. It's a device. But not because she's a part of the black hat and all the deep state's doing this and No, it's an operation. This is defined as this is the operation. Every bit of it. Everything you're watching is that. All of it. But if you're still falling for the negativity, if you're still falling for the propaganda, then you don't know the laws and orders in place. And you can't. But that more than proves she's an actress because they're still real actresses. They still know, they're like stuntmen. They know what's at stake. And there are some idiots out there in the normal world who will still try something even in an audience. You might have one of those cast members or central casting in an audience that goes bazooka. You never know. There's some dumb people and crazy people in the world. So everything still looks normal and it's carried out the same way, Secret Service, etc. All right. And then you got law schools. So all of the law schools are going back to common law. All right, there's one article out there, and it's just one article, yes, but there's multiple articles that show that the bar exam is changing back to common law. Pretty cool. Well, there's an attorney, but there's a law professor. An article was put out not long ago. I'll have to find it again. But this guy goes, we have been teaching law all these years this way, and now they want us to change just like that. Who is they? Who is they? And think of all the lawyers in this nation. Think of all of the law. Oh my goodness. Think of all your law offices everywhere. In every city, every town, everywhere. Then think of all of your law colleges. Who is they that they would be so big that all of these components will have to change their curriculum to common law, which is more for us, the people, versus the bullcrap that they put us under in 1871 and 1878, where America flipped. You have all the key components. All the key components. And one little nugget I did miss back when you had the Secret Service lady being hammered after the quote-unquote assassination. What did she say? She was asked the question. So take this and go right back up to that. There's always something I leave out and but I caught it. She said, in a normal, if he was a sitting president, yes, but it's continuity government. They tell you without telling you. They show you without showing you. but they're wanting you to empower yourself. And if you can't do it yourself, then guess what? There's some people like me who can. On my time, on my dime, and my energy. That's why it's a #1 bestseller. It's a #1 bestseller on Amazon. If you're international, this is the way you get it. If you like Kindle, this is the way you get it. But if you want it signed by me, rattletrap1776.com. Click on See More Gear or Get More Gear, and it'll take you to the link. It's a chronological blueprint, and it saves you the time and energy from having to look up every single one of these and pull up 1,000,000 tabs on your computer, because it ain't going to do it on your phone. You would probably, ain't no telling what, your phone might crash. But it's the chronological, and I got part 2 coming. It'll be soon. It'll be ready very soon, after more visuals of November play out, and also December and how it rolls. But it's all there, baby. And if you're arguing at this point, then you're only showing that you're either stuck in the matrix, you're stuck in the swamp, or you are the swamp. You can't argue this stuff. You just can't argue it. But I'm gonna tell you what, I am stoked. I feel that when President Trump said we're going to the Renaissance period, which means new birth, rebirth, new birth, man, I can feel it though. And no matter what I've been through personally, it's been worth it. Because once again, the truth is the truth, even if no one believes it. And a lie is a lie, even if everyone believes it. And the only person I have to account for is God, Jesus, my mom and dad. And, my grandparents are done gone on, and I love and miss them every day. But all I do is replicate what every person's supposed to do. We're supposed to empower ourselves and know what matters. And unfortunately, America became all about materialistic stuff and stuff that just don't matter. It don't matter. Some of this stuff just doesn't matter. And that's what you got to do. You got to separate all these propaganda, because this one video shows everything to a T. This one video, that one Supreme Court case, put in the timeline of it with all the other stuff. You tie in the Title 50 and the 12333. You tie all the unconventional, irregular warfare, the military that he federalized. You cannot argue that. And you shouldn't want to. If you're a patriot and you love and support this man, why would you argue that? So all these podcasters out there, you need to stop following them and hit them where it hurts. Because algorithms make them popular. So when you comment negative stuff, even in the comment box, the more comments, that algorithm, it don't matter what you're saying, it makes them more visual. Now, internet's great when it's great. I wouldn't be here without it. I went globally viral August of 24, 2022 because of good comments and people going, oh my gosh, and then they went and looked what I was talking about, and they're like, oh my gosh, everything he says is there. That's why I'm here. That's why you're here. That's why we're here. So, if you want to know, it's there. But the internet can be bad. It's bad when it's bad, and it's good when it's good. But you have the power to control that. And if you want to free up time in your life, a lot of you are married. A lot of you have kids. A lot of you have grandkids. And even if you don't, you have hobbies. You have things you love. If you will declutter your life and stop trying to find simple answers, because the simple answers are right here. This is a simple answer. This is all you need to know. But what's happening is so many people run into all regurgitators because they're simple and they give you like a 5-minute video and it's no substance whatsoever. It don't empower you. There's nothing there. It's all substance because it's quick and easy. Quick and easy is what led to what we have right now. Quick and easy is what led to incompetence. Quick and easy is what led to the swamp taking control and advantage of all of you. It wasn't me. It was them. This whole operation was to drain that and get rid of that. It was to empower you. President Trump said, we're taking the power out of D.C. and giving it back to you, the people. We can't give it back to the people. The people don't know what's going on. We're going to be right back where we were because people don't know what matters. Laws and orders matter. And he says this all the time. We're a nation of laws and orders. What did they make Biden say after the immunity ruling? That it's a threat and, it's a danger to laws and orders. The whole core topic of this whole thing is laws and orders. And it's to expose the people who abuse their powers and misconstrued and miscombobulated and lied to you, the people, the laws and orders on paper. Because if you will listen to me and only me for a while and get your foundation built and strong and sturdy, you will see that the laws and orders that President Trump did is black and white as prescribed. And then you'll be able to see all the stuff, no matter how old you are, your whole life you'll be able to see all the lies and discrepancies and everything that the swamp did in your state, locally, state level, and federal. And until you build your foundation on what matters, you're going to be shaken every time you see some propaganda video that's like, and all they're doing is the polar opposite of what God looks like. The Bible says, I did not give you the spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and a sound mind. Love, humble yourself. Power to do what? Control your emotions, control your fears, control that, because the Bible says not to fear. It just said that. I did not give you the spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and a sound mind. So God don't do that to you. The military don't do that to you. The military don't try to scare you. You can be scared, but that's when you got to do what? Set your foundation on the very person that's leading this operation. Well, if you don't know what the operation is, then hey, I can help you. But that's what this whole operation is about, to get out of that propaganda, to get out of that negativity, to get away from that swamp, to get away from that matrix, to expose that, to cast a light on that, to empower yourself, to give you the food and stuff. And why it matters, people will say it all the time, why does it matter to you so much? Because when we eliminate all these taxes, and once they're eliminated, then once you know what they are, then you go, okay, don't bring that back. That was funding them. That all they were doing was taking out that pot. Then when you see the three-letter agencies going through what they had to go through, it was all an operation. They knew what was coming. But what happens is when you create that distrust, and President Trump's over here saying, hey, the Secret Service, they made a few mistakes, but it's not all of them. Be easy on them. The FBI, the CIA, the Secret Service, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's saying what? He's saying now that you're made public about it, yeah, you got mad about it. Yeah, you were frustrated, bitter, yada, yada. Checkmate, that's in the special operations diagram. Now that we have you paying attention, here's what you do now. Now we can move forward and build accountability and responsibility with these three-letter agencies. It might be you, it might be me, it might be your family members or cousin or friend or something that gets these positions. But now we move forward in the future. Now you're aware of what's going on. Now you can hold people accountable and responsibilities in these positions all over the board. That's how you empower yourself, and now you're informed of it, and now you know what to look for moving forward. And that's how we maintain and how we sustain all this. But all these attitudes out there, oh, this is hogwash, and this is a conspiracy theory, and oh, this, that, and the other, and he lied about his service, and I've never lied about my service. I don't even have to talk about my service. I wouldn't even have to be a veteran to know what's going on. Because most people that are toting the weight right now are females and they're civilians. And once again, congratulations, ladies. You're the most lethal and the most powerful in this whole movement and operation. And you deserve, once again, you all deserve, ladies deserve a congressional medal. And you all deserve spa day on whatever. Or whatever it is you love to do. If you don't like the spa, then whatever. But, you know, Anyway, this is a great video for you to share with your friends and family. I'll get the Rumble video loaded up here shortly. If you will go to Linktree, once again, linktr.ee/1776nation, you'll find all my official links. I did get deleted again from TikTok, so if I create another account, it will be my 6th account, which I probably will do because I love trolling those guys over there. But all this is public laws, public information, and this is the best one to show your friends and family that you're watching the most biblical, monumental, historical, special operation known to man take place. And if you want to know, you got to listen to the man. This is it right here. I love how it fits too. These old hats are cool. Then he got the other hat he put out. Instagram. Veterans and military families for Trump. And there's the dash on it. Cohesive. Look at that. Oh. And I just put in another donation last night where I can also receive the black and gold hat. Ooh, that thing is fine. Boy, Kamala doesn't know she's alive. Woo! Alright, guess what I'm going to go do? I'm going to go hit a dirt road. Yeah, I'm going to go do the Trumpy dance. Trump dance. Do the 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 Trump dance. Yeah, because guess what? Laws and orders are absolute, and the laws and orders in place are absolute, and they can't be debunked because that's not how laws and orders work in the first place. So it probably pays to know what's been invoked, because that's what the dash means, baby. So I'll upload this video, and it's all on my pages. So Instagram, you're going to have to go over to all of you followers on Instagram. You got to go over to my other pages to get the link. So Linktree, linktr.ee/1776nation. And then also, I do have 2 #1 bestsellers right now, which is cool. So country music. I'm the first country music artist in country music history to expose all the secrets of how the system works. So if you're a singer, songwriter in Nashville, you don't even need to be there. You don't even have to live in Nashville to have a Billboard hit. You don't even have to have a major record label or anything like that. All you need to know are the secrets of how to bypass the system. It's real simple. And that's how we get rid of all the major labels and all the corruption with that, is when people empower yourselves to know what's going on. So I would hope to think that a lot of you patriots out there will start sharing this book just as much as the other, because this shows the whole secret. Not how to write a hit song and how to do. No. This shows the dirty system of how these people get bought and controlled and persuaded, and then they become diddyfied. See y'all soon.